Mama Abiye, I'm not ready to have this baby. Is there any way you can help me? Mama Abiye looked at Aduni with kind but serious eyes. My dear, it's too late to get rid of the baby safely. It could be very dangerous for you. Aduni's heart sank. She didn't know what to do. But then, Mama Abiye said something that surprised her. If you don't want the baby, you can sell it after it's born. There are people who would pay a lot of money for a healthy child. Once upon a time, in a village far away, there lived a girl named Aduni. Aduni was very beautiful, with a kind heart that made everyone love her. She was always helpful and sweet, making people smile wherever she went. Her father was a poor farmer. He worked hard every day in the fields, trying to grow enough food for the family. Her mother was a trader, selling little things in the market to make sure they had what they needed. Even though they didn't have much, Aduni's family was happy. They loved each other very much. Aduni had a few close friends, and together they walked to school every day. She was very smart. She always listened to her teachers and studied hard. Because of this, she was always top of her class. Every week, the head teacher would smile at her and say, "Aduni, you are the best in the whole school." Then he would give her a little gift, like a shiny pencil or a small book. Aduni felt proud and happy, knowing she was making her parents proud. The villagers always admired her. They would say, "Aduni is a good girl. She's going to do great things one day." And Aduni would smile, dreaming of a bright future. As she grew older, Aduni became very close to a girl named Bisi. Bisi was not as smart as Aduni, and she wasn't as pretty either, but she had a way of doing things that were not so good. Other girls noticed this and warned Aduni. They would say, "Aduni, be careful with Bisi. She doesn't always make good choices." But Aduni liked Bisi and wanted to be her friend. One day, Aduni went to school hungry. There was no food at home. She felt weak and sad. When she arrived, she saw Bisi carrying 2 plates of food. Bisi smiled and said, "Aduni, I brought this for you, my special friend." Aduni was so grateful. "Thank you so much, Bisi," she said, and they sat down to eat together. And from that day, their friendship grew stronger. Aduni felt grateful to have a friend like Bisi, who was there for her when she needed it. Even though Bisi wasn't the best influence and sometimes did things that weren't right, Aduni continued to do well in school. She still listened to her teachers and studied hard. She believed that as long as she stayed true to herself, everything would be okay. After Aduni and Bisi finished school, they began spending a lot of time together. They would walk through the village, visit the market, and talk about everything. As time passed, Aduni noticed that Bisi always had nice clothes, pretty jewelry, and things she could never afford. Curious, she asked, "Bisi, how do you get all these things? Where does the money come from?" Bisi smiled and said, "It's from a man named Kunleo. He gives me money and buys me gifts." Aduni frowned. "But why would he do that? What do you do for him?" Bisi looked around, lowered her voice and whispered, "I sleep with him. He gives me money. It's easy, and I get whatever I want." Aduni was shocked. "But what if you get pregnant? Aren't you scared?" Bisi laughed. "Don't worry. I know how to take care of that. I won't get pregnant. It's nothing to be afraid of." Aduni felt confused and worried. She had never thought about doing something like that. But Bisi made it sound so simple, so easy. Aduni didn't know what to think, but she trusted her friend. Bisi seemed so confident, and Aduni didn't want to lose her friendship. So she kept quiet and continued to follow Bisi's lead, even though deep inside she felt something wasn't right. One bright morning, on her way to the stream, she met a man named Adisa. He was young and handsome, a hard-working palm wine tapper, known for making the sweetest palm wine in the whole village. As they talked, Adisa looked at Aduni and smiled. He liked her gentle nature and her beauty. Before they parted ways, Adisa reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Inside was a beautiful pair of earrings. He handed them to Aduni and said, "These are for you, Aduni. I hope they bring a smile to your face." Aduni was surprised and happy. "Thank you, Adisa." They are beautiful, she said, her eyes shining with gratitude. From that day on, Adunni started meeting Adisa every day. They would talk, laugh, and sometimes walk together to the farm. Adisa always made Adunni feel special. She had begun to look forward to their times together. As days passed, Adunni and Adisa grew closer. One day, in a quiet moment, they ended up sleeping together. Adunni felt a mix of emotions. She liked Adisa very much, but she also felt unsure about what they had done. While all this was happening, Adunni's parents were busy planning her future. They wanted her to learn a skill that would help her in life. So, they decided to send her to a village called Ayetoro. Ayetoro was known for its skills training and bustling market, and they thought it would be a good place for Adunni to grow. But a few weeks after being with Adisa, Adunni realized something that made her heart sink. She was pregnant. Nervously, she went to Adisa and told him the news, hoping he would stand by her. But instead, Adisa shook his head and said coldly, "No, Adunni, I am not responsible for that. It's not my child." His words cut her deeply and he turned away. Adunni felt crushed and alone. The man she thought cared for her had rejected her in a time of need. Now, with a baby on the way, she didn't know what to do. As Adunni left her parents' house, she felt a mix of emotions. She was excited about learning something new, but she was also very scared about the baby growing inside of her. When she arrived in Ayetoro, she stayed with a distant aunt who lived near the market. The aunt was kind and welcomed her warmly into her home. But Adunni couldn't stop thinking about the baby. She didn't want to have it. She didn't know how she could take care of a child all by herself. So, she decided to visit a midwife in the village. The midwife was known as Mama Abiye, the one people went to when they needed help with their pregnancies. Adunni explained her situation. "Mama Abiye, I'm not ready to have this baby. Is there any way you can help me?" Mama Abiye looked at her with kind but serious eyes. "My dear, it's too late to get rid of the baby safely. It could be very dangerous for you." Adunni's heart sank. She didn't know what to do. But then, Mama Abiye said something that shocked her. "If you don't want the baby, you can sell it after it's born. There are people who would pay a lot of money for a healthy child." At first, Adunni was horrified. Sell the baby? But as she thought about it, a new feeling came over her. Maybe this was a way to solve her problems. She wouldn't have to take care of the baby and she would have money to live on. She looked at Mama Abiye and nodded. "Okay, I will do that," she said, feeling a strange mix of relief and excitement. From then on, instead of worrying about the baby, Adunni began focusing on the idea of making money. Months passed and soon her belly grew large. The day came for the child to be born. Mama Abiye had already found a buyer. Adunni gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. The baby cried loudly, full of life, as Mama Abiye placed her into Adunni's arms. But Adunni felt nothing, no love, no bond. Instead, she thought about the 500 gold coin and shiny jewelry waiting for her. After breastfeeding the baby, she handed her over to Mama Abiye, who took the child to the buyer. The buyer was pleased and gave Adunni the promised gold and jewelry. Adunni looked at the money in her hands and felt only excitement. She didn't think about the baby she had just sold. All she could think about was how rich she was becoming. "This is better than learning a trade," she thought. "I can make more money by selling babies." From that moment, Adunni made a decision. She would do it again. It didn't take long for Adunni to get pregnant again. This time, it was with a man named Tayo. Tayo was just another man in the village, and when Adunni told him she was expecting his baby, he reacted just like Adisa had. But Adunni didn't feel sad or worried. Instead, she felt happy. She was already thinking about the money she could make from selling the baby too. Without wasting any time, she ran to Mama Abiye's hut, full of excitement. "Mama Abiye, I am pregnant again," Adunni said, almost dancing with joy. Mama Abiye looked at her with concern. "Adunni, you must be careful. Selling babies is not something to take lightly. It can lead to a path of regrets." But Adunni didn't want to hear it. She smiled and said, "This is the path I have chosen. Mama Abiye, I'm going to keep doing this. It's the best way for me to make money." After 9 months, Adunni gave birth to a baby boy. He was strong and healthy, crying loudly as he came into the world. But Adunni didn't feel the need to hold him or even look at him. She knew the buyers were already outside. Without a second thought, she handed the baby over to Mama Abiye, who took him to the buyers. This time, the payment was even greater. The buyers gave Adunni 2,000 gold coins and more jewelry, even more beautiful than before. Adunni was thrilled. The money was more than she had ever imagined. She didn't think about the baby she had just sold, only about the wealth she was accumulating. Adunni's plan worked even better than she had imagined. She became very rich, very quickly. Each time she got pregnant, she sold the baby and collected more gold coins and jewelry. The more babies she sold, the richer she became. Soon, Adunni was living a life of luxury in Ayetoro village. She had the finest clothes, the most beautiful jewelry, and anything else she wanted. But as Adunni's wealth grew, so did Mama Abiye's concern. One day, Mama Abiye sat her down and said, "Adunni, you must stop selling your babies. They are your future, your own flesh and blood. You can't keep doing this." Adunni didn't listen to the warnings. She was so focused on her riches and the easy life she was living. She sent money and gifts back to her parents in her home village, and they were amazed at how much she had. They didn't know where all the money was coming from, but they were proud of their daughter for doing so well in Ayetoro. By the time Adunni decided to return to her home village, she had already sold 10 of her babies. Each sale had made her richer and more powerful. When Adunni returned to her village, dressed in fine clothes and sparkling jewelry, even her parents did not recognize her at first. The villagers whispered in awe, "Who is this beautiful, wealthy woman?" Her old friend Bisi ran forward and cried, "Adunni, is that really you?" With her riches, Adunni built a mansion and rebuilt her parents' house. She was admired, envied, and desired. Many men proposed to her, but she always said, "I don't need a husband." Her life seemed perfect, and she didn't think about the cost of her wealth or the future that might lie ahead. As time went on, Adunni's parents began to worry about her. They saw that she was rich and successful, but she wasn't married. In their hearts, they believed that having a husband and children will bring true joy and happiness to Adunni's life. One day, her mother gently said, "Adunni, you have everything, but you are lonely. It's important to have a husband and children to complete your happiness." Adunni thought about what her mother said. Although she had always been happy with her riches, she began to wonder if something was missing. Maybe her parents were right. Soon after, Adunni met a man named Akin. Akin was also rich and came from a well-respected family in the village. He was kind, handsome, and seemed to care deeply for Adunni. The wedding was a grand affair with the whole village invited. There was music, dancing, and feasting. Everyone talked about how beautiful the couples looked together. Adunni felt happy and hopeful as she started this new chapter in her life. But as the months turned into years, something troubled her. 2 years had passed and she still hadn't gotten pregnant. Akin's mother, eager for grandchildren, began to pressure her. She would often say, "Why have you not given us a child yet, Adunni? A wife's duty is to bring children into the family." Adunni tried to stay hopeful, but the pressure kept growing. One day, Akin's mother could no longer hide her frustrations. She stormed into their homes and shouted, "Adunni, you are a barren. You can't stay in this house any longer. My son needs a wife who can give him children." Adunni was heartbroken. She loved Akin and didn't want to leave, but his mother's words were final. With tears in her eyes, Adunni packed her belongings and left Akin's house. She returned to her own home, feeling empty and alone. The marriage she thought would bring her happiness had ended in sorrow. Adunni realized that all the riches in the world couldn't fill the void left by her inability to have a child. One day, out of the blue, Adisa, the very first man who had denied her when she was pregnant, came to her house. He looked serious and demanded, "Adunni, where is my child? The child you were carrying when you left the village." Adunni's heart raced. She didn't want to admit what she had done, so she lied. "I lost the baby, Adisa. I had a miscarriage." Adisa looked at her, his eyes filled with doubt, but he left without another word. Just when Adunni thought the worst was over, two more men came knocking at her door on different days, each asking the same question, "Where is my child?" To both men, Adunni gave the same answer: "I lost the baby. I had a miscarriage." But her lies didn't stay hidden for long. A villager who had been listening to one of the conversations overheard everything. This villager knew the truth about what Adunni had been doing in Ayetoro village. Without hesitation, he told the men, "Adunni didn't lose your babies, she sold them. She's been selling her children to get rich." The men were shocked and furious. The news spread like wildfire through the village. People couldn't believe what they were hearing. The men returned to Adunni's house, this time with a crowd of angry villagers behind them. "Give us back our children, Adunni," they demanded, their voices loud and threatening. "If you don't, we will burn down your house." Adunni stood frozen, fear gripping her heart. The wealth she had gathered, the life she had built, everything was crumbling around her. The villagers who once admired her now looked at her with disgust and anger. Adunni realized her actions had finally caught up with her, and the consequences were more terrible than she had ever imagined. With her heart heavy, Adunni went back to Ayetoro, desperate to find the children she had sold. As Mama Abiye's hut, the midwife sighed. "I warned you, Adunni. Now you must face the consequences alone. Still, here are the addresses of those who took your children, but don't expect them back." Adunni traveled far and wide, pleading at many doors, but her efforts were in vain. Some denied her, others refused, saying the children were now theirs. After many fruitless attempts, Adunni returned to her home village in shame. The villagers were waiting, their anger still burning. She was no longer seen as a success, but as a symbol of greed and betrayal. Her parents were devastated. The shame was too heavy for her mother, who soon passed away, leaving Adunni broken. In repentance, Adunni gave away her wealth, but the villagers rejected it. Determined to atone, she sold everything and gave the money to the poor. Then, with only a small bag, she left the village. She lived alone at its entrance, haunted by the memories of the children she had sold. Though she found a little peace, loneliness never left her. Her story became a lesson for generations. Remember Adunni, who traded her future for gold. She had everything, but lost it all because she could not see what truly mattered. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, please like the video, comment what you learned from the tale, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more interesting tales just like this one. Bye!